Okay, so you are joining me in a less than conventional live from New York City version of Facebook Live. I'm Becky Hammond, if we haven't met before, and I am walking right now through Columbus Circle, I think that's what it's called, trying to see if I can make my way to Central Park, which I think is right over there, but that's how you can tell how inexperienced I am, because I even get disoriented in Columbus Circle. So I just had a fabulous meeting with another fellow strengths coach who does way more than even just training on and coaching on strengths, but really is an expert in the retail industry, and training managers is something she loves to do. And Carrie, I just had a really awesome time hanging out with you today, and really glad that we get to be in New York together for a little while. So I am here today to wrap up our last series of capturing everything that we put together for you last year on Isogo TV. And so we've been rounding up episodes by topic. We did one on management and development and parenting and marriage, which was again the most popular one. And we are now this week giving you our roundup of our top questions that we were asked, that I answered on Isogo TV last year. And turns out that there were 10 questions that you asked and that I answered over the course of the year. And so today I just want to pop in and give you an idea of what the top 3 questions were, and maybe a quick response to those questions again, as we're all just kind of wrestling through what in the world does this strengths concept have to do with me, and how is it honestly, how can you say that it could really be life-changing? Because it has been for me, and I believe that it can be for you as well. So I'm going to try to find a spot here. Oh, this is so awesome. Look, there's a little carriage back here. I don't know if you can see that, but and I'm just going to finish this up here. So we are the number one question, and this is the one that I put there in the comments, is that I heard last year, and I say it's number one because it was probably the most funny, I guess, interesting comment, but it's something that in other forums I had heard as well. So that's one of the managers I was working with, one of his people that reports to him said, you know, I feel like the StrengthsFinder thing is just an excuse to suck. Isn't this just an excuse to suck? And I could have just rolled my eyes and laughed it off. I did actually laugh, but it wasn't because I was laughing it off. It was because I have heard this before. It's like, isn't this just an excuse for our weaknesses, and we're just trying to say, okay, well, let me just do the things that I'm do well at, and never really have to work or try or struggle or keep up with the job that I have in front of me. And I think, you know, the answer is, you could look at it that way, but that's not the intent. That's not the intent of the StrengthsFinder assessment, and it's certainly not the intent that I have as I go out and talk to people about how they can use the way that they're wired in 2 different ways. So this is what StrengthsFinder is meant to do. It's meant to tell you how you go about doing the things that you do, and what are the needs that you have, what do your talents really need in order to show up and thrive. And so, you know, in the case of this particular person who was feeling like if people didn't have achiever in competition, they were not going to be successful in their role, then, you know, what does that mean? What does that do? And I think it starts from a place of humility, which is actually a pretty tricky place to start for some people, of saying that each person has something unique to offer, and that it's not that they're not going to work hard because they don't have achiever in competition, but rather they're going to work hard in a different way that gets them to the same result in a way that makes them thrive, that gives them more energy. And so that's a very quick response to that question, like, isn't StrengthsFinder just an excuse to suck? It's not. It really isn't. It does not give you a free pass for getting out of things that you don't like to do, but it does give you insight and figuring out how to align the things that you are good at to get the things done that you need to get done. And if you're looking for a new career, it helps you be able to establish and understand what might be a good fit in that regard. So that was the first question. And then there's two other questions, and so this rounds out the top three that really speak to a lot of the same issue that I think is so important, and I've really become really clear about over the last 6 months or so. And the first question was, what if people have told me that these aren't strengths? So you can look up more details about that specific question and how I answered that in Isogo TV. If you go to the blog post from last week, you'll see all of these questions rounded up there with the specific posts that will give you the answer to those questions. And then the other one was, what if I don't like my strengths? And what's at the heart of this, both of these questions, is what if you take StrengthsFinder and you see something in there that you're not proud of, or that you wish wasn't something that you owned, or that you wish that you weren't wired that way, or you wish you were wired a different way, or you've gotten in trouble for these types of things in the past. I think the most important thing to draw out here as we're trying to get to the answer to those questions is that you are wired in a unique and intentional way to be able to offer the world, your team, your colleagues, your manager, your family, your spouse, your kids, something that only you can offer. And so that you are only going to be able to offer those things when you can really own them, that you can understand that these are you to start, and that these are valuable. And that by working on them, by leaning into them, by understanding them more and struggling to help them show up in your lives, you can offer that uniqueness and that value to the people around you that literally only you can offer. Remember, the chance of you getting the same top 5 strengths in the same order as someone else is 1 in 33.3 million. So that's pretty good odds that you are going to be are going to have a unique role, just in statistics alone, let alone the complexity for how even each of these things play out. So those are the top 3 questions that I wanted to make sure to address today. You can get the full answers to those and 7 others over on the roundup post from Isogo TV. That is in the notes for this episode, and I am looking forward to seeing you. I'm planning on let's keep doing this. Let's do this each week on Wednesdays. If you have other questions, I would love to answer them, and otherwise I'll be sharing stories or really practical ways to be able to take those 5 strengths from the theoretical to the tangible, practical. What do I actually do with these things? So thanks for those of you who joined. Thanks, Johnny Lynn. Again, you are one of my biggest supporters and now friends, and I appreciate that. And then a little props out to David Hammond for joining on as well. That type of familiar support is probably the most appreciated. So I'll talk to you all later, and I'll see you next week, same time. Bye now.